you know, I didn't ever say anything at the time, but I had a fixation on O.J. Simpson, the trial. And I think some of this grew out of O.J. Simpson, because here is a guy who, at least, you know, I believe, you know, committed 2 murders, and yet is able to go on living and speaking and, you know, doing and golfing, things like this.
Patricia Arquette receives an envelope at her doorstep and thus begins the wild, confusing, moody, terribly violent, and I found rather meaningless David Lynch film called Lost Highway. Patricia
As a matter of fact, I'm there right now. At your house.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Robert Blake, not guilty of the crime of first-degree murder of Bonnie Lee Bakley.
At your house.
With David, it was like, you know, this story, I'd say, David, am I 2 different people? Am I 1 person? Is one a dream? Is one a hallucination? Is one a ghost? Am I 2 ghosts? What's going on here?
Yeah.
I don't know, Patricia, why don't you tell me? Film isn't this solid thing with these sharp corners, 90-degree turns. It's actually this stretchable, pliable, moving thing, which is exciting and scary. And so here's this guy who all the evidence says killed his wife.
Yeah.
But he's saying, no, 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 I didn't do that. And at a certain point, do you start believing your own lie?
Right.
Do you start to believe that?
Yeah.
So I looked at that movie as an examination of women through the eyes of this misogynist. So my character Renee is married to Bill.
Yeah.
But he touches the hood of her car when he gets home to see if it's warm. She's been out. Like, there's this weird space between them. She doesn't feel safe with him, but she's kind of trying to just bore him to death or just give him nothing so he'll leave, because she just doesn't feel safe with him.
Right.
He kills her, but he doesn't remember it.
Yeah.
He sees it as this other thing that's not him. Then he reinvents himself as this younger guy, and he gets to re-meet her again, and now she wants him. But even in this dream fantasy reality, she's a lying whore. Because she will always be a lying whore.
Right.
And he can never have her, and he can never figure her out, and she will never love him enough, and she will never be someone safe to love.
And you put all that together?
I had to do something. I was confused.
Boy, I feel just about the same way. You know, every time I see a David Lynch picture, I think to myself, this guy is so gifted that if he would only just break down and make a movie instead of being so clever all the time and trying to outsmart himself with basically what are sophomoric little plot devices, you know, stuff that
it would be very hard to make this convincing.
It doesn't pay off, it doesn't have a purpose.